Hey guys, welcome back to Muslim Minds. I'm Rohaib,
And I'm Hamza.
and this is going to be our first podcast. It's going to be kind of like a little background video so you guys can learn about us and what this channel's intentions are for. And yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to start to do maybe more just podcasts here and there on any topics we want, not just doing reaction videos all the time.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys have seen some of our past videos, but I always have a lot to say, not enough time to say it. So I think podcast would be like a
Sometimes you
perfect
say a little
place.
bit too much, and I just have to cut it all out.
Just keep going and going, yeah.
So yeah, the purpose of Muslim Minds as a backstory is just because we already watch like religious stuff on our own about Islam, debates, Christian videos, Jewish videos, any sort of religious stuff, and even social stuff, political stuff. So we just thought it would be a good idea to watch it together and give our genuine, authentic Islamic Muslim perspectives on stuff.
Yeah.
And has been going pretty well. Like one of the first video we did with Redeem Zoomer, on all the Christian denominations, that like blew up.
It took off,
The
yeah.
first video we did blew up, so that was like a good way for us to, have momentum and show that people actually care.
And I have to say, look, we disagree with Christianity and Christians, but I really have to just shout out the Christians because they have been some of the most respectful, open-minded, clear in their dialogue people that we've encountered, like in our comment section.
Yeah, even though we're saying we disagree about stuff, they've been the most respectful and answering stuff in a logical way in a Christian view. And some of our audience doesn't do that.
Yeah, some other people don't. But I will say, like, I make a lot of comments about Christianity, and I'll get into that. When I was younger, I used to study Christianity a lot to the point where I almost became a Christian. But we'll get into that soon. But going back to that point, so I always make these calls to Christianity. I'll disagree with this, disagree with that. I'll make a claim here, claim there. And there will be some people, very learned people in the comment section who are giving their perspectives and opinions. And they're not saying, you ignorant Muslim. Like, no, they're actually taking the time
Some of
to
them are.
just, yeah, well, yeah, some of them are crazy. But I
Yeah.
would say for the vast majority of Christians, they're not like that. Most of them are respectful. Most of them, they try to explain it to you. And again, I'll disagree with probably a lot of their explanations, even though it's backed by tradition and their own scholarly work. I don't, again, we don't give much credence to the scholarly work of Christianity because we don't believe Christianity to be a true faith, which I think is common sense. But they are not, like, just as we try to keep it at a professional level and respectful level, we have experience out with Christians as well, which I really appreciate. But yeah, that's like Hamza is saying. I also really, Hamza knows how much I talked about Christianity and just religion day in and day out. So we just had this idea, why don't we just record our conversations and reactions to these kind of things? I'm sure it'll be interesting, entertaining. So Hamza has grown up religious, I would say, your majority of your life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was born Muslim in like Sunday school, Saturday school, Islamic school for my whole life. I was in full time hifz, which means 7 to 8 hours a day, just full time reading Quran and memorizing Quran, the Muslim's holy book, in Arabic itself. I don't know Arabic, but if we,
Oh, you're learning.
yeah. But the thing is, like, if I think it's a hadith. If you memorize the Quran, then you'll be like saved on the day of judgment. You won't even have to be held accountable. You're already gonna be saved, and there's a lot of different stuff about that. So that's why a lot of Muslims, if you guys aren't Muslim, basically that's why a lot of Muslims memorize the Quran, the whole book in Arabic. Even if they don't understand it, they know the reward of doing it.
6-year-olds, millions of
Yeah.
Muslims have done it since the time of the
Six,
Prophet.
7 year olds, yeah.
It's been one of the primary focuses of the religion to learn the Quran, read the Quran, and understand the Quran, recite the Quran. That's
Yeah.
what the Quran means, recitation, right? So it's a huge focus in Islam to become very acquainted with the Quran because we believe it's the actual words spoken by God to man, revealed to Jibril, revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So see, my story is a bit different from yours, Hamza. I was not raised very practicing. Okay, I was very ignorant. I didn't know much about Islam, and I grew up in a primarily Protestant Christian area. Okay, um, with that, I was exposed to majority Christians. I didn't have a huge Muslim community around me, and I just was always fascinated by religion. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about my own religion, but I just started to look into it at a very elementary level when I was in like seventh grade or so, so like 12, 13 years old. And I started to look into Christianity a lot. And Christianity, I mean, there's a lot. It's the way I present it now. And I don't mean this disrespectfully. It seems to be a beautiful lie, a beautiful deception. And the reason I say that is because, you know, it's a religion rooted in the belief in God and doing good for being a good community service member, and giving to the poor. Not having pride, walking with humility, worshiping God. These are all values that the Abrahamic faiths share. But the
Values
reason,
that Muslims share.
but the reason I say it's a beautiful lie is because, if you look at the practicality of Christianity, just the notion of the Trinity and what it serves as, kind of like atonement for sin, it to me robs the incentive of a human being to make it right with God. Oh, I believe Jesus died for my sins, therefore I'm forgiven. I just need to believe in him and I'm saved. Many Christian denominations hold this belief. I know Catholics don't, where there's still major sins and your minor sins. Protestants also hold the view, I would say probably even more severe, that all sin is the same. But with the Protestant, you are saved because you believe in Jesus. You believe in his sacrifice. You believe in his atonement for your sin. Even with Catholicism, right? You go to confession and you make yourself right with God. So there's still an element of repentance, but that is not exhibited by the vast majority of Christians. Vast majority of Christians do not have this understanding.
So that threw you off from Christianity when you were younger?
Not at this point. I'm just saying as
okay.
modern day. But so anyways, so yeah, going back to that, I guess I would look at these videos about Christianity, like no particular sect or the kind of denomination. I would just watch whatever came to my feed and whatever I would search. I would just look up Jesus on YouTube and watch whatever. Even if it was like one of those mega church guys, like what's his name, Joel Osteen, like whoever, like people like him, I would watch their videos. And I remember it was one of those kind of like mega church type of guys, and he was like, if you want to accept Jesus into your heart, you get on your knees and you pray to him right then and there. And I was, just a young kid at the time, so I got on my knees and I was just like,
oh my God.
I was terrified because, I'm Islamic by name. I didn't know too much about it. My whole family's Muslim. I mean, this is in my brain. It's like, okay, my reality, my destiny is all on the line. So instead of saying Jesus, I was not comfortable with that. I just said, oh God, like whoever you are, guide me. And I'll carry the story later on because I think it's a very interesting story. But one thing led to another, and I did not embrace Christianity. I learned more about Islam, kind of not from a biased point of view. I did not have a Muslim community around me, and my family at the time, they were not throwing it in my face. They were not excessively practicing. I would say doing the bare minimum without really forcing us to do anything. And I kind of came to it on my own conclusion that, okay, Islam is the most rational truth, right? And that's another incentive behind this YouTube channel is, us as Muslims, we are on the truth, and we want to share that truth to other people, and we want to also invigorate and inspire the Muslims who already have the truth with them. And I'm speaking so bluntly and directly because it's not a matter of faith, it's a matter of what I know, and a matter of what Muslims know, and a matter of what Islam is, right? There's a huge misconception with Islam, just like there's misconceptions about Christianity. There's misconceptions about Judaism, even Hinduism, right? The misconception about Islam, I mean, there's too many to mention. I'm sure you all know many of them. But our goal here is to present Islam as, okay, it is the global religion for mankind. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the final messenger of God. He came with his own miracles. He came with his own predictions. He came with his own text. We have already described the importance and the focus of memorizing the Quran, right? Like you said, 6 years old, even you yourself were enrolled. I know several chapters of the Quran, right? My native tongue is not Arabic, but it's because it has been a part of our tradition since the time of the Prophet. We have carbon dated manuscripts from the first 100 years of the Prophet's life, right? Predictions about the end of the world, all these things happening, the tallest buildings being built in the Arabian Peninsula, right? That the world will be backed by a financial system with interest. That even some other things like obesity will be commonplace and widespread. This is not a rational.
If you live in America, that's true.
It's not a rational claim to make when you're living in a desert and everyone's skinny and under the burning sun all day long. And being obese meant you were wealthy, that you had that luxury to eat. But I mean, we're on the very surface. So, the more you guys will watch, the more you'll learn Islam from, I would say, an unbiased viewpoint. And a biased viewpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
But yeah, also just as a way to show, like, we're regular people. Because I think maybe in the Western world, obviously there's a lot of negative connotations around Muslim, around Islam, and I don't know, like they think Muslims are like gonna terrorize or like do something violent, but we're just regular people. We live in America.
Well, I
we
got
have
a corporate
jobs.
job, okay?
We go, we do stuff. We
I
hang
live
out
for the weekend.
We watch stuff. So we're just regular people, and we can just. And
Dude,
our goal.
I'm also looking at the clock, waiting for 5 p.m. every day too. I'm trying to escape the Matrix as well. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for derailing my train of thought.
Oh, sorry. I do that quite often.
But yeah, also just conversating with people in a nice way. Our goal is not to. We believe Islam is true based on our understanding and stuff, and we disagree with other religions, but we don't bash other religions. We don't just be like, oh, you guys are just dumb. We investigate other religions, and then based on our viewpoint and our Islamic understanding, we can question it and ask
the
questions.
religions are dumb, not the people.
Because yeah, bro.
Just playing.
Because even in Islam, we are not allowed to insult anyone else's religion. Like, so all we can do is like investigate and see why people think that. Have our conversations, connect with other people based on something we all enjoy doing, which is like learning about religion, stuff like that, and then just see how it goes from there.
You might wonder, okay, why would you not want to insult another person's religion? But you kind of think about it from a psychological standpoint, even if you know anything about like the mannerisms behind an argumentation or like a discourse. If you are just so against the person that you're trying to, prove something to, or you're trying to, have a dialogue or debate on, if you're just being a contrarian, you're showing that your mind is shut off. You're showing that you're not able to critically think about what the other person's saying. You're dismissing what they're saying as if it's irrelevant and has no value. If you show a respect and an understanding and contemplation of what the other person is saying, although you may not agree, that gives your words more weight, right? So there's even a psychological incentive behind being understanding and patient to what showing a patience to what other people are saying, right? So for example, if I'm reading through the comment section and I find a Christian that's like, hey, you were wrong about this point, you don't even have to be soft. You can be as bold as you want, but the point is if you are at least demonstrating that you're listening instead of saying, oh, you should change your channel name to Terrorist Minds. Like, I laugh at a comment like that. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but I'm going to go, oh, this is an idiot. Like, I'm not going to listen to him. Like, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
we're not doing that. So if you're a representation of some certain faith, and then we can tell that from your like just profile and the way you're talking, then you're saying insulting stuff. That's just you're putting a bad view on your own religion.
Yeah, like there are many Christian apologists who I'm not going to name that their whole life, and I mean, it's very, clickbaity and eye-catching, lots of views, whatever, but they produce a lot of videos and content where it's just very crass and crude and sharp and very insulting. The amount of Muslims you're actually going to reach are going to be very few. And those who actually apostate, that they become apostates or apostatize, they're already probably not very strong in their faith, and they're very easily swayed by these kind of strong and very crass arguments. But people like Hamza and I, we look at this, we don't even pay any mind to it. It's just like we just see, okay, someone is just screaming about our religion in a very derogatory way, cherry picking things out of context. You could do the same thing with every text, right? So we don't hold a lot of weight to those kind of arguments. So you'll see the structure of our channel reacting to different faiths, even visiting different houses of worship, going to a Catholic church. We intend on going to several other houses of worship, not to show that we're accepting, embracing of these faiths. It's to show that, okay, we can interact with you. We're other human beings. We can discuss your religion with you while retaining our own beliefs, right? I have some of my closest, acquaintances and friends are Christians, right? Protestant and Catholic. We agree to disagree.
Yeah. And it makes sense because we live in America.
Yeah, and we're agreeing to disagree.
We can live in the society and be fine. It's no big deal.
While disagreeing on the most fundamental thing in our entire lives, more important than our beliefs about family or even politics or whatever, we have differing views about the afterlife and God, which is the most central part of every person's life. Even if you're religious or not, it is. Okay?
That's the whole point of religion, like the connection to God. So if you have a different understanding, like Trinity or like Tawheed, the oneness of God, that's like completely different. So, but we're still able to have those differences and still treat each other with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Which I hope people in the comments can do as well.
Like, it's important to separate the wheat from the chaff. Look at what the religion actually is, what the followers actually follow, instead of what you may hear in the media or what your own preconceived notions are, or what ignoramuses try to speak about the religion. Again, a lot of Christian apologists. I'll even go so far as to say that a lot of Muslim, I guess you could say, speakers or content creators are very ignorant about the things that they're speaking about. Many of them are. I'm not going to name any names, but I can also mention many names of people who are actually qualified in speaking about what they're talking about. They've gone through studies like Dr. Ali Atai. You have people like him who have actually studied the source material when they're engaging. I would say Muhammad Hijab, although, again, a lot of people are probably not going to like him. Many people may like him. Many people may not have an opinion about him. He's a bit bold, but Muhammad Hijab is not someone who just speaks out of thin air. He's obviously someone who learns.
I think he has a master's degree. He's getting a PhD.
He's involved in discourse. He's very involved in debating. He's not just some like couch potato who's just coming out of nowhere and he's just spewing nonsense, right? Although he may have a heavy bias. Again, there are people who have a heavy bias. Someone who's far more academic, like Dr. Ali Atai. These are just two examples, right? Dr. Shabir Ali. Again, Shabir Ali is not like a scholar, Islamic scholar, like a mufti or like an alim, for example, but he's just someone who I would say is at least more understanding as an approach. I'm not saying you have to accept these views, but you can just look at some people, for example, who are able to speak and at least engage in dialogue, whereas others are just straight up insulting and they just take the context of the verses or whatever it is and they just completely rip it to shreds.
Yeah, and you got the new popular influencer Andrew Tate speaking about Islam, the new Muslim, taking Islam by storm by, educating the youth through people like Aiden Ross and Twitch.
Aiden Ross, bro.
And he speaks very eloquently and defends Islam and has utmost respect.
What I like about Andrew is he's not an intellectual authority over Islam. He's not. He's not going out and debating. He's not Hamza
like
Zortz's.
He's
not Muhammad Hijab. He's not Muslim Lantern. He's not Dr. Ali Atai. He's not Paul Williams. But he's not a regular guy. I mean, he's millions of dollars, whatever. He's a regular person in his relation with scripture and religion. He's like a layman religiously, which is like a breath of fresh air.
He should be an atheist a few years ago.
Yeah, people, not everyone is going to be just involved in the polemics and the let's analyze the scripture, or did you Carmen date, what's the manuscript date on this one? Most people are not like that, right? But Andrew Tate serves as that figure who's like, okay, he's religious, he follows a religion, but he's like a regular person, which I think is sometimes a refreshing to see. Islam,
and he's one of the most popular people, and he chose to become a Muslim.
Yeah.
When he was an atheist a few years ago.
It's becoming
and he's defending Islam.
Islam is growing through birth rate and conversion rate, like at the fastest rates, right? I would say it's the most homogenous of all the largest religions in the world. And the thing about Islam is it's very simple. Okay, one God. There's nothing like him. He's beyond comprehension. He's the all-powerful, the all-knowing. Okay? That is God. He sent prophets and messengers throughout all the nations of the world, calling them to worship one God, do not associate partners with him, enjoy good and forbid evil. Okay? The final of these prophets is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the Quran. We believe in the Prophet ﷺ. We believe in the Quran as the final untampered revelations of God. We believe all the other prophets and messengers, their messages were either distorted or their histories distorted. That we no longer have access to what the true authentic message was at that time. We have it rebrought with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which is very logical and rational when you think about this. Man constantly spreads lies, deceive, war. I mean, even if you look at the Jews, how many times did they fall back into idol worship? If you look at modern day Christianity, how many different Christian sects are they that completely differ with one another, right? This is the nature of man. They take things and they try to tamper, they try to twist it and distort it for whatever reason you can think of. Someone may ask, well, why do they do this? Well, they've done it anyway. They've been doing it. Why did the Jews start worshiping a golden calf when they had Moses lead them through the Red Sea? They see the miracle before their eye. They see him going to Mount Sinai. He comes back down, they're worshiping a golden calf, right? So Islam is accepting and understanding and acknowledging this human flaw. It's exploiting it. I can't speak, and it is correcting it, right? And it's not just a religion you believe off like no reason. It's very logical in its understanding. There's one God, no prophets and messengers, no Trinity. It's just one transcending being that you can't imagine, and it has its own miracles. It has its own recitation that has been preserved since its time. And you have the miracles and predictions therein. All the things you would need to justify believing in a faith. So that's Islam in a nutshell.
Perfectly summarized by Rohaib.
You're welcome.
I guess that's it for now.
Yeah, we can wrap up here.
If you guys liked it, let us know. Any topics you guys would want us to discuss in the future. I don't know, we can try to put a podcast out once a week.
Yeah, something like that. If by the way, if you're interested in learning about Islam or you want to become a Muslim, you can reach out to us via the comments or our Instagram. Again, we are not authorities where you should take your aqidah from or your fiqh or any of these kind of things. But basics, you can come to us. We will answer the basics and we can direct you to who you need to go to learn more knowledge from. We have those resources, we have those connections. And if you need those resources, please feel free to leave a comment or reach out to us on Instagram and we will direct you accordingly.
Yes. So yeah, Muslim Minds podcast 1 completed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.